Ever since the dawn of civilization, humans have always have urged to express, to communicate, to convey a story, to understand the premise around them. In fact, the expression and communication was a means of survival for humankind. Why things work, why they don't, to understand each other, to jot down the stories for their future generations, what has worked for their generation, so that the coming generations won't have to invent their own stories and they can build something on top of what is already existing. This has the seed of growth in it, where every human being can access the knowledge of past and take it forward from there for the humanity and for the collective consciousness. Stories are what we are. How do you find yourself in these stories? What stories do you tell to yourself? And what stories do you tell to others? Is there any difference between that? What you say to yourself and what you convey to others, what you perceive yourself as, and what you want other people to perceive you as. This has always been a central theme to convey stories about yourself. The times have changed. The way of storytelling has changed. Earlier, people used to gather around the fire to share the stories of their courage, of their failures, of their mistakes, and learn from them. And it was all about passing on the story to the people in community. But deep down somewhere, he felt the need to communicate what is trying to express itself from within, and that become the creative expression, the artistic expression, an expression which is not in reference to context with the community, to the society, to the civilization, to the systems that are placed, systems which are based on the stories. Stories which have tightened the belief in them. A man reached out to himself and decided to express the stories which are personal. It would be interesting to understand that in the West, the man has always explored to find his identity, his existence, his place in the society based on what he is seeing around him, what his partners thinks about him, where in the hierarchy he belongs, how many children he has. And he has always tried to keep up to the external notions of existence. He has to do something, has to be productive, has to be useful. This is how they started treating themselves as a commodity. An identity which people have decided to give you as a person and part of society. Whereas in East, the land was so fertile that there was no competition between the humans. A fight for food, which allowed them to explore the possibilities of expression, that they took an inward journey towards themselves. So the stories they told about themselves came out to be abstract, asemic, undefined, shunya, zero. This is how East came to the understanding about the true nature of human being, a evolution beyond cognitive behavior, more earlier than the West. The early migrations that brought people from Volga to Ganga in Saraswati civilization, they flourished here as a culture in the fertile land, in the deltas of this river. And so they found that there are more words required to express this wisdom. There are things so complex that a sign language or a basic language won't do the job. And with this rich, enriching civilizations, the language also flourished, became more richer. As the art in West was becoming more personal, it deviated towards the pain, suffering, and sacrifice, a need to prove that I was doing something for the society. But in East, it reached to a height where it expressed the eternal ecstasy, the joy. Indian objective arts are always misinterpreted in the West on the basis of emotions, because that is how the West has always explored the possibilities of creation. Right from the Renaissance to the Impressionism, all those factors are taken into account, which are external. The light on the object, the pose of the characters in the story, the expressions of the character, whatever you can see outwardly has always been depicted in the art. Many of the Western civilizations, colonizers, explorers have exploited the possibility of ruling the richer lands of eastern part especially India. And when they came across the objective arts of India, they have interpreted them in their own way, which is not Indian, which is not even Eastern. It is just a diary, an account of what they have found and what they think that it means. There is a beautiful sculpture of Lajjagauri, which was found in some part of North India, but today it resides in a museum of Badami. The word Lajja itself is mistranslated into English as shame. She was promoted into the West as the goddess of shame. But we have to consider this fact that when Lajjagauri, the concept, the existence of the physical form of Lajjagauri was manifested into the eastern lands, the word shame didn't exist in this land. It was imported and imposed by the Westerners in this country. Lajjagauri today is worshipped in many forms. That is what happens when you don't understand anything. Either you define it in a mainstream way, in an academic way, or you just keep on praising a thing which you don't understand. Britishers looting this country and taking all the artifacts to their own land without even understanding what they mean and making out their own meaning out of it is not understanding it completely. They might have stolen the lamp from India, but the genie in the lamp still resides on this land. He never left India. The Lajjagauri is a sculpture of a female who is depicted in a birthing pose, and yet she also resembles an appearance of an infant. She is giving birth and taking birth at the same time. This is how thoughts work. The thoughts of a person who has discovered the core of his being, who knows who he is. The thoughts fall as they arise. Like the water flowing in the fountain of eternal ecstasy. Lajjagauri is the goddess of modesty, a person, an icon that is so simple, so much one with the eternal universe, that he or she has lost his identity. He is no longer a person. He no longer has any personal needs, a need to express pain, pleasure, all the degrees of emotions. The lotus on the body represents the wisdom that he has gained from losing his identity, from understanding that he is everyone and yet no one, he is not. She is pressing the nadi of emotions in her finger with the lotus flower, which symbolizes that she has gone beyond the emotions, and now the only thing that she expresses is divine wisdom, the joy of this universe. There is no wonder that a female form has been used to depict this beautiful eternal expression, because women naturally possess the skill, the potency of creativity. But you will completely miss the point if you perceive this image only as a female form, a goddess or a person. It is depiction of something eternal, of a being who has come to know himself, his true existence, and that's the only way that he expresses. You will pray in front of her if you don't understand it, thinking that it is something other than you. You can analyze it and put it into the books, and labeling and covering up the book with the shame. But if you truly understand Lajjagauri, you will be reminded of something which is beautiful inside you, the core of you, the real you, the dynamic expressions of energy that you are. And that's the true beauty of an objective art.